On this channel, we've talked about landlocked countries and their polar opposite, island nations. Now we bring up another interesting class of country, the city-state. City-states have existed for pretty much as long as nations and kingdoms have existed. By far the most recognizable group of city-states are those in ancient Greece, notably Athens and Sparta. Rome was also a city-state for the first couple centuries of its existence, and even then, 2,000 years later, during the Renaissance, there were still plenty of city-states on the Italian peninsula. Venice is certainly the most notable, having established a trading empire across the Adriatic Sea, but cities like Genoa and Florence were also their own independent city-states at one point. Germany also used to be just as divided as Italy, and also consisted of many small kingdoms and city-states, and the same can be said of the Swahili coast, Mesopotamia, and Mesoamerica. In short, city-states have been everywhere throughout the history of civilization. Well, maybe not everywhere, and there are still quite a few today. Now, for clarity, city-state doesn't always literally mean an independent city, but it can also include the areas surrounding a city, including, believe it or not, other cities. Like Venice. It's not like they made the entire Adriatic coast instead of suburbs after all. Today, when we talk about city-states, we usually refer to the countries of Singapore, Vatican City, and Monaco. But we also include unusually tiny countries with very few cities, like Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Malta, and San Marino, with an honorable mention to the individual emirates of the United Arab Emirates. Not all of them are independent, like Hong Kong, Macau in China, or Berlin, Hamburg, and Bremen in Germany, or Washington, D.C. in the US, but they still kind of function like city-states. Well, more so with Hong Kong, which mostly functions as if it were independent, less so with D.C., which isn't even represented by a voting member in Congress. City-states generally exist for the same reason that we have different countries in the first place, but there are some circumstances that can lead to the country being so small. Hong Kong and Macau, though not fully independent, are so small because they were once European trading ports, for example. Other times, it could be because they just don't want to be part of their country, as was the case with Singapore. After independence from Britain, the colonies of Singapore, Malaya, Sarawak, and Sabah united to create the state of Malaysia. But for a lot of reasons, this union quickly went sour for Singapore and they left. So how do their governments function exactly? Are they comparable to the city government of Portland or the national government of the United States? Well, for one, cities like Portland, Hamburg, and Johannesburg don't get to decide on their own federal laws, foreign relation, currency, etc. And they have to report to higher powers in Salem and DC for Portland, or Berlin for Hamburg, or Pretoria, or Cape Town, or Bloemfontein for Johannesburg. So no, they're not exactly pumped up city governments. However, some, most notably Vatican City, aren't exactly like true national governments, as things like unique currency and passport control are more trouble than they're worth when the country is a small chunk of the Italian capital that can be circumnavigated in 40 minutes. But not all city-states are like this. Basically, the whole dynamic of most city-states is pretty much just that of any country, just smaller in size. Singapore is to Malaysia as Germany is to Malaysia. Because of its size and how it consists of the metropolitan area of one city though, many call Singapore the only fully functioning true city-state, as opposed to Vatican City and Monaco. You know, with their economy and border guards and Singaporean born citizens and not to mention their female citizens. Singapore defines a lot in terms of city-states, as it's a huge player on the world stage, being home to some of the world's largest trading ports, being one of the Asian tigers, and having a surprisingly large military. Basically, when it comes to city-states, they're really kind of just small countries. But they are very interesting, for sure. Cross-country running must be popular there, though. Thanks for watching, and please be sure to like, share, and follow me on Twitter, @KhAnubis, to receive updates on future videos and, well, probably more likely just random thoughts that pop up in my head. But as always, be sure to subscribe to learn something new every Sunday.